Michael Rectenwald. Thank you.
Maat.
Thanks for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's good to be with you. We're in Alabama.
Alabama, Sweet Home, Alabama.
We are Sweet Home, Alabama. And we're in a lodge in a state park, which is a lovely setting.
Very nice.
I noticed. It's
very, very bad reception for cell. Likewise, it's given me like an internet break or a sort of
yes, a reprieve.
A reprieve from my internet addiction.
Yeah, exactly. You and me both.
I'm in withdrawal right now, Mike.
so we'll have to post this online in a couple of days. And Nancy is here with me, and she was really gratified and enjoyed seeing you. So
lovely.
Thanks for all that. She's a sweetheart, and she happens to be a bit of a Michael Rectenwald fan, which I find slightly odd, but that's okay.
Well, I'm a Mike Maat fan.
Well, I appreciate that.
There's some correspondence there.
I appreciate that, and I understand why Nancy likes to see you. So let me ask you, I'm going to ask you about one of your books first. We're not going to go in chronological order because I went online to see what all the fuss was about your books, right? Remember, you came into the race seeking the presidential nomination in the Libertarian Party. In case there's anyone out there who doesn't know what's going on, we're seeking the Libertarian Party presidential nomination.
Yeah.
I went online to see what all the fuss was about, and I went and looked at this book, Beyond Woke.
Beyond Woke, yeah.
And of course, being who I am, I kind of looked at it thinking, oh, you know, this is probably a piece of crap. Who is this guy anyway, right? And I started reading about it, and I found myself hitting the buttons. And for a modest amount of money, it's available on Amazon. It was delivered to my home in a couple of days, and then I had a flight, and I was plowing through it. I have to say, and this is no bullshit, because I'm a big Milton Friedman fan, but no one would say, you know, that guy writes beautifully. But I gotta say, it's beautifully written.
Oh, thank you.
What was it like to write it?
Well, you know, that's a series of essays.
Yeah.
So those came out in over about a 3-year period. I wrote those. And those were kind of like, I was in a creative, explosion after I left NYU. Yeah. And after all of that turmoil and stuff, and I had so much to say. And so
each one you wrote independently?
Independently, yeah. They're all written independently. And then I put an introduction on it. That book is about I delved into all different stuff in there, right? Yeah. Like all these different aspects of wokeness and so forth. Right. And social justice and woke capitalism.
You believe that woke is bad for our culture?
Oh yeah, I think it's a totalitarian ideology. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's about shutting down speech. Yep. Shutting down dissent, opposition, etc. And I think it's it plays on this idea of sort of altruism and being personally pure and being personally socially conscious, all those things which I am. Right. But this is compelled. This is not something that you do voluntarily. This is compelled virtue. Yeah, I hear you. I couldn't agree anymore. I think you're absolutely onto something, and I found myself not only nodding my head, but sort of when you read, for those, which camera am I looking at? For those of you who haven't read it yet, you find yourself actually rooting for the author. It's like, go! Thank you. It's a lot of fun, because it's not just a matter of, you know, we're in a free society, we all have different opinions, and we all argue. Yeah. It is, as you say, a suppression of diversity of thought. And so for this reason, I think you and I agree, it's actually not good for our culture. No, it's not. Whereas a diversity of opinion is. Mm-hmm. And I should say that I go into all these different aspects. Like I have, there's one chapter in there was an essay. It's about social justice as seen through Marx and Nietzsche. And that's like, I take, like, what would the Nietzschean line be on this and what would the Marxian line be on this? Right. And I'm not really I'm not really like putting down Nietzsche and Marx.
I understand.
I'm just sort of like exploring what they would think.
And you've studied a lot of each of them.
Oh yeah.
Yes, for many years.
Well, I knew Marx inside out.
Yeah.
And then I've read a lot of Nietzsche. I mean, you know, he was my antidote largely to a lot of this stuff.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was like taking a what do they call it? The red pill.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes it's a black
the
pill.
Nietzsche pill.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, this will snap you out of this trance.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Did you read a lot of Nietzsche when you were younger,
I started
or more recently? In the last
younger,
decade?
like in my early 20s and then in my 30s.
Yep.
You know, he's nuts. Okay. You don't want to be like a Nietzschean. You'd be like a really terrible person. Okay? Because he believes like, you know, step on the Untermensch, you know,
right.
Become the Ubermensch. And, you know, I'm not...
So take the value that you can find there.
Yeah, what he snaps you out of is this false like egalitarianism and this idea that it's virtuous to be like it's virtuous to be the Untermensch, to be the lower.
Right.
He talks about how there's this inversion ideology that goes on that puts the lower higher, and that's what social justice does. It flips the so-called putative social hierarchy.
Which is how we wind up in this weird place where everyone wants to claim victimhood.
Basically, that's it. It's this inversion. It's like so it's a race to the bottom.
Yep.
The race goes downhill, but it's really to the top.
Yes.
Because they're going to flip it upside down.
Yes, I get that. So tell me about your other books, because how many books in total have you written?
12.
12.
Yeah.
But you were just mentioning to me a moment ago 5 relatively recently.
Right.
Tell me about those.
Okay, well, I started off like when I broke out of the trance that I was in. I wrote this book called Springtime for Snowflakes.
Right.
Which
did very well.
Very well.
Commercially did well.
Very well. In fact, one day, this was wild.
And not just let me interrupt you. Yeah. Not just commercially, but in terms of affecting a lot of people, did have a big impact.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Yep.
It was named by, you know, not that I care about the Daily Wire writer said it was one of the 5 top books of our time.
Wow.
Yeah. For conservatives to read.
Right.
They're going to say that.
And I like the fellas at Daily Wire. They're onto something from time to time.
Some things, yeah.
They will drive you crazy about foreign policy.
The neocons, you know. But
yeah, they'll drive you crazy.
Yeah, they will.
Right.
What they're doing is, now this is very much what's going on. It's the right is sucking these people in through anti-woke stuff and then converting them into like pro-war.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like being equated.
That happens.
It's being equated, and that's terrible.
Yep. All right. So
anyway, that book.
Help me with the chronology. When did you write that?
I wrote that I wrote it in 2017 in the spring.
Yep.
And then it came out in 2018.
I get it. Okay.
So that book is
right in the teeth of woke.
I was
high mark for wokeness.
It was the throes of it, right?
Right.
It really heated up in 2016 in the fall.
Yeah.
Where I had my fallout with NYU.
When did you leave NYU?
I actually left in 2019.
So you hung on there for a couple of years. When things were not going so well.
No, they were not. They were not nice.
What was that like?
Well, I mean, like they put me in my own personal gulag.
Yeah.
They took my
intellectually.
No, physically. Physically.
Tell me about that.
Well, I worked in this department called Global Liberal Studies.
Okay.
I taught like cultural history, writing, academic discourse.
Yep.
And
nice.
And that's occasional history of science because that's part of what I did.
Sure.
And
you ever teach history of economics?
No.
No, that's my shit. Okay.
Although I did, yeah, that's right. That's you. I know a bit about economics. You know,
I know you do.
I studied it.
Right. I couldn't teach history.
I taught a little bit. Like, and I have a book called Academic Writing: Real World Topics. Not a good title as far as getting it out. And real world topics that makes you sound.
Yeah, it's hard to say too.
Yeah.
So you're at NYU.
Yeah.
16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Until 2019. Tell me about this.
They put me in my personal gulag. So they transferred me after these people attacked me verbally, almost physically. They took me and moved my office to the Russian department.
The Russian department?
Yeah, I had nothing, no affiliation with the Russian department
Do you
at all.
speak Russian?
No. I had nothing, I had no affiliation with the Russian
You
department.
ever teach any Russian
Literature?
Tolstoy or?
Well, I mean, like, I love Dostoevsky, but.
Sure.
But they put me over there, would not move my books, would not give me any access to secretarial stuff, or
Right.
you couldn't find me in the university. Like, it was like, you know, how do you get a hold of Dr. Rectenwald?
And
You can't.
what did they say was the reason for this?
For my safety.
For your safety?
For my safety.
From whom?
The other colleagues. Instead of chiding or disciplining them for
Right.
calling me all these names over listservs,
Right.
official NYU listservs, and threatening me and things like that, they
Right.
moved me. They never did anything
Wow.
for those people.
That is really weird.
Yeah. And they wouldn't move my books, so I'm in this office with like metal shelves, no books, empty metal shelves, no accoutrements, no.
It is a little gulagish.
It was a gulag like that. Yeah, it was kind of like a gulag.
That's really weird. Well, I'm sorry you had to go through all that.
Yeah, it's minor, really.
Well, no, I get it
Compared to
is,
what
but you
people
know, our
learn.
work lives are not unimportant.
No.
Like for it to.
It was more humorous than anything for me.
I suppose. Well, good for you for having
No,
a good attitude
especially in
about it.
hindsight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you wrote Springtime.
Yes.
And then
that book, let me just tell you a little bit about it. It's like a
Yeah, please.
excursus through my academic indoctrination and education from my graduate school studies. Like, how did I get into all this? And then how did I get out of it? That's what it's about.
that's really, no wonder it did well.
Yeah. And it didn't hurt that I went on Fox News and they put the book cover on the whole screen
Nice.
for like 35 seconds.
Nice.
Shot up to number 50 out of all books on Amazon. All books, not in any category.
Not
all
just
books.
nerdly books.
Out of all 20 million books, it was number 50.
Give me 5. That's something.
Yeah,
There's nothing like free publicity.
I loved it. And
I can imagine you loved it.
you know, in a way, I was being I was kind of like a new golden boy from the right because I was telling the dirty laundry of the left and all that.
Sure, I can
But
imagine.
I know I have all.
No, I get it. They used you a little bit.
They used me a
and
little
that's
bit.
okay. You use them a little bit
Yeah, a
too.
little bit,
so that's the way it's supposed to work when it
Right.
works correctly. Okay. And so what was the next thing?
Google Archipelago.
Yeah.
Google Archipelago. So it's of course a play on Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago.
As Springtime was a play on
Mel Brooks's a song within Mel Brooks's producers.
yes.
Springtime for Hitler.
I love that.
I was trying to say these social justice warriors are like little Nazis.
Exactly. And I'm glad before we started recording, I asked you to make sure that was a play on that because
Yeah.
I thought it was, and I thought it was charmingly funny.
I thought of it out of it just came into my head.
I thought it was excellent, but I wanted to ask you about it first because if I got it wrong, that would be embarrassing. But, I thought that
Google
was a cute time.
Archipelago, what I did with Google Archipelago is the same ideology that I saw operative in academia
Right.
was going on in social media.
And you're playing on Solzhenitsyn.
This time it's Solzhenitsyn, yeah.
Right.
And so I just argued in that thing that like they're setting up digital gulags.
Yes.
Okay, unpersoning people, disappearing them, silencing dissent, with all the censorship. And then this was years before, Mike, this was years before the Twitter files and all that.
That's right.
Okay, so I gotta say, I was rather prescient.
You were. And probably some of that stuff was going on, it just hadn't been revealed.
Right.
You were figuring it out in real time before everyone else
I'm
was.
kind of a theorist, not like an empirical scientist.
I get it.
So and then I could see patterns. That's just the way my mind works. I see patterns.
I love it.
So that was what that's about. I had a lot of evidence to prove what I was saying, but
Yes.
but the one thing had happened.
But you were breaking new ground.
I was breaking new ground.
No. I think that's right. All right. What was the?
Then that is Beyond Woke, the one that
That's the one I have.
You have.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a compendium of essays that treats all of these aspects of wokeness, not
Yes.
just the academic.
It's in my travel bag. It's available on Amazon for a relatively modest price.
By the way, you can get all of these books directly from me if you want to avoid those big digital monsters. I sell them directly and I send signed copies out.
Oh, that's
on
exciting.
MichaelRectenwald.com. michaelrectenwald.com.
michaelrectenwald.com.
Yeah.
Which isn't all that easy to spell, but
No, there's no H or no K.
people might know Amazon more easily.
Yeah, they can
either
get it from
way.
Amazon if they want it. Saves
Either
me
way.
time.
Okay. Either
That
way.
book is a compendium of essays that treats all these aspects of wokeness, from academia to the social media, the digital world, to woke capitalism and all that.
Yep.
And so I go into, by the way, and all these books are from a libertarian perspective.
Yes.
With a small L now. I wasn't a party member yet.
No, I get it, but I appreciated that as I was reading through it. I haven't finished it yet. I still have another flight's worth to go. Okay, and what came after Beyond Woke?
Then there was Thought Criminal, which is a novel. That's a novel.
I don't know this book. Tell us about
Okay, I wrote this during the COVID crisis.
it. Uh-huh.
I was so fed up with the propaganda and everything that was being pummeled at people.
Was this your first attempt at fiction?
Well, I had written a book of short stories before.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
Yeah, that's right. It was called The Thief and Other Stories.
Okay.
That's an earlier book.
But this was your first novel.
That was the first time I tried long fiction.
And what's it like?
To write long fiction?
Yeah.
It's the hardest genre there is. You have to have, things have to happen. You got to make a world first.
Yeah.
Then you got to make things happen in that world.
Yes.
You got to make them compelling and all that. I think I did.
Yeah.
I was lucky, I think. It was during the COVID crisis, and I was sick of fighting the propaganda online and elsewhere. I said, I can't get through to people this way.
Yeah.
So I put it in a fictional setting.
Yep.
And this was the premise of this book is there is a virus,
Yep.
but it's not biological, and it is being actually induced by the state.
Yes.
Only a few people know what it is, though. It's actually nanorobots.
Now let's hope this isn't prescient also. Let's hope we don't find out that it's actually doing
It could be,
But
because
it could be, right.
So they have diffused these nanorobots into people's brains through exposure.
Yeah.
And once you get these nanorobots in your brain, these little nanorobots, they connect to the neurons in your neocortex.
Not completely different from what is
Neuralink.
Yeah, from Neuralink.
It connects to the.
Elon.
So I worked in robotics and AI for a few years. I thought I can talk about that later, but
Yeah, okay.
it connects your brain to the cloud,
Yeah.
which I called in the book collective mind. So, so the idea is that basically it takes over the person's personality because it's a two-way transmission. They can read your thoughts,
Lord.
and they can impute thoughts. They can inject thoughts into your brain.
I love this.
And there's a couple heroes in the book, but there's
Yeah.
one in particular. He's an AI researcher who
Right.
just happens to know that this technology can do this.
Yes.
And he's trying to stay virus-free. So it is not like the virus isn't real. He's trying to stay virus-free.
Right.
And there's only one way to do it. He has to take a drug. So there's a little bit of a twist there.
Yeah.
You have to become an addict on this particular drug. If you don't take this drug, then you will get infected. And
This is sort of interesting, actually.
yeah, it's
Okay.
big pharma, big tech, all
Now,
that.
is it a long book?
No.
Is it
it's a
pictures?
200
You know,
pages.
how am I going to make it? Okay.
I
I can do 200 pages on
it's
couple
like
flights.
streams you straight through it.
Yeah.
And
Give us the name again.
Thought Criminal.
Thought Criminal.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the characters there's a network of thought, they call themselves thought deviationists. This is
Yep.
based on the Soviet, that's what they called the Soviet
Of course.
defectors and dissenters.
Absolutely.
They call them deviationists, you know.
Right,
So
right.
these are deviationists.
Which was the excuse to send them off for retraining.
to the gulag.
Yeah, to the gulag.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Okay,
I won't give you the plot. I'm not going to spoil the
No,
plot.
no, no, no. Don't give me the ending.
Yeah.
I haven't read the damn thing yet. Okay.
And then there's last book.
Yes, what's the name?
That's The Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty.
Tell us about it.
That is a book that goes into, like, what is this Great Reset all about?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the players involved? What is the object?
Yeah.
How are they executing this object? And why are they doing this? You know, what is this about?
Yeah,
What's
right.
the object that they have in mind?
Right.
Like, what do they get to gain?
So this is a very analytic piece.
It's very analytical, yeah.
Right.
It's scholarly, but all these books are scholarly, but not academic.
I get
Except for the not thought criminal.
So in other words, they work hard, but they're not nerdly in the sense that it's going to be a turnoff for those of us who are on the outside of academia.
Yes, this is non-academic discourse, which has no point mostly.
Right.
Okay, let's be honest.
Right.
I never had any readers until I started writing these kinds of books. I had 15 readers,
No, in the academic publications.
Yeah, that's how it is. I worked so hard to get 15, 20, 30, 40 people citing me, 50, 80, 90, whatever.
I know. I am brutally aware.
Yes, academic.
Well, I've taught in 3 different universities, but I was never
on a tenure track.
Long-term tenure track. Yeah. My job was always to, teach.
And then here's the weird thing. It's like they said, oh, this guy's writing so many books. He's still living by the academic thing, publish or perish. No, I wasn't. I had these things to say. I was just saying what I had to say.
You don't write long form unless you have something. You got to be compelled by something.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was out of academia. I mean, I could still write academic work. But what for?
No.
There's no point unless you're in that track.
There's no point unless you're in the track, and of course, there's no commercial value either.
There's no commercial value,
and that reflects the ability to reach a lot of people. So.
Yeah, my royalty statements from my academic thing, I maybe I'll get $15 a year here, $2,200 there. Right. My textbook did pretty well. Academic writing, real world topics.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. They use it in a couple places.
It's been used in all over North America.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
North American colleges and universities.
Yeah.
From Canada through.
What's the name of it?
Academic writing, real world topics.
Yeah, you mentioned that before. Yeah. It's too hard to say though.
Yeah, it is.
I may have to rewind this. If I okay, that's good. So tell me a couple of things. One, what's life like on the outside of academia? You feel pretty good, or you want to go back? I want to ask you if there's anything about the campaign you want to talk about.
Well, okay, let's start with the first question.
Yeah.
It was tough at first.
Yeah.
I had to establish myself now as a public intellectual, making money in the free market, which I've managed to do.
Yes, you have.
I just got my royalty statement recently for these 5 books.
Right.
And
but that was after a long history in academia.
Yes, it was.
I mean, you were starting from, not from zero, but...
Pretty much.
But starting...
I mean, I had all the writing skills and all that. Like you said, I think I'm a literary type writer.
Yes.
I try to make things into literature.
Yes.
I'm very big on language. This is why I get stuck in the debates, Mike. I'm searching for the right word. Just give it up, Mike.
Just blurt it out. Blurt it out.
People don't give it up. Stop trying to find the exact precise word.
That's probably good advice.
Yeah,
that's probably good advice.
Yeah.
No, your writing is really beautiful. It really does come through that you care about
language, how precision of
the words, and it's not just. It's not just your word choice, and it's not just your precision. Your ability to organize your thoughts and for it to come off in a way that uses the words to build paragraphs.
Yeah.
When I read your stuff, I don't feel like I'm reading word by word by word. I am taking in big paragraphs at a time.
Good.
That is very hard for people to write that way, so I commend you. So, going back to academia someday, or?
Oh, who knows, Mike? I mean, look, after I served as president for 4 years.
4 or 8.
8 maybe,
4 or 8.
I don't know what I'll do, Mike. I mean, I'll probably get a big contract from one of those book publishing companies like Obama.
Maybe.
No, I mean, really, let's be real. I'm going to continue to work for liberty.
Yep.
Okay, inside and outside of the party.
Yes.
And I will write books, probably. I'll go back to writing books.
Yeah.
I want to write a book right now. I just can't do it right now, as you can well imagine.
Well, we're on the road all the time.
Yeah, we're on the road.
And
I have essays that I'm putting out, but from Mises Institute and others.
That's right.
I had a piece in Newsweek last week.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Tell us, what was it about?
It was about the Ukraine, what I called, we must end the Ukrainian boondoggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well put.
Thank you.
Well put. You and I are on the same page with regard to Ukraine. We do need to end the boondoggle and get our asses out of Ukraine.
It's absurd.
It is absurd is a good. See, you found the right word. That's the perfect word. Okay. And how have you found the campaign?
Well, you know,
you having some?
I'm having fun now.
Having some fun?
I'm having some fun.
Yeah.
I'm starting to find my sea legs.
Yes.
I think. No, this was not easy. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
I'm not, like, public speaking is like not my super strong suit.
I get it.
Writing, I'm a writer.
Exactly.
I'll be honest, you know.
No,
what do you get with writing? You get way more control.
Yes.
And time to put things right.
Yeah.
So I've struggled in the early part with just like, oh my God, I gotta get the right word exactly. And, you know, it's just not where it's at.
Yeah.
But I've had fun, and I'm learning a lot. I keep on top of things because of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's things I don't like about it. You know that.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to have to compete with a nice guy like you.
Well, don't think of it as competing.
Yeah, I know.
It is getting your stuff out there.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, but
that's how I think.
I have met great people like you.
You and I have met a lot of great people.
We've met great people. You know, we've had thorns in our sides too, right?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
Hit, at the outset, I was hit with a lot of like daggers. You know.
Yeah.
And it was just annoying, and it was like, who are you talking about? You don't even know who I am. What are you saying?
Oh no,
I was actually like accused for a while. I mentioned here that I worked in the Robotics Institute at Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah.
In AI while I was writing my dissertation in the history of science.
Right.
Okay.
That must have been fascinating.
It was. I worked at this AI lab. By the way, they were doing.
You said it was Cornell?
Carnegie Mellon.
Oh, Carnegie Mellon. I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Of course, you're a Pittsburgh guy.
Yeah, that's where I got my PhD in literary and cultural studies, it's called.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm writing for this lab in AI. By the way, at the same time, I'm a leftist, okay, but I was like an anti-war activist too.
Sure, I can imagine.
And I'm writing, for example, there's this like general that came in to watch one of our demos, you know, see how this AI software works. I'm like 5 feet from him. And I'm sitting there writing an anti-war screed. This is around the Iraqi war. Okay, this is right in it. Actually.
Yeah,
right before and right in it.
Yeah.
And then.
What year is this ish?
I worked there from 2001 to 2006.
Okay.
So it's right in there.
Yep.
So anyway, somebody from the outside world about this, you know, in terms of this campaign, says he wrote software that was used by. DARPA to control our thinking, you know, just like my novel. But I didn't even write software, DARPA funded some of the research. I had nothing to do with that.
No, they funded Carnegie Mellon's research.
Basically,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, you were a student there.
Yeah, I was a
working your way through.
I had kids. I had 3 kids all through graduate school, all through master's and PhD. I had to make money. I couldn't just make $12,000 a year. That's what they paid you for a stipend, okay, to teach it.
I'm well aware. I had to teach the youngsters economics.
Yeah.
So don't think you had it bad. I had to teach economics.
I'm not complaining, but I'm just trying to explain, like, why did I take that job? I took it because I was a good writer and I needed money. Yeah. And I couldn't just live off of the stipend.
No, it must have been fascinating. It must have been fascinating.
It was fascinating.
Yeah.
So somebody construes it as me being like working for the state to control people's minds through DARPA. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, right, okay. Anyway, things like that. That's just an example of the kind of stupid arrows and slings and the construals that people make out of nonsense. You know,
no, they do it just because they don't like you, or you know, it was probably someone that liked Mike Tremont more. Yeah, and so they just were pissed that you were. The only explanation.
Something like that.
It was my mother. It was probably my mother.
Probably your mother.
Going after you.
But
so, tell me about AI. We have, our team is, we have a little AI bot that's out there. It's very cool, very fun. It's still in beta. We're still trying to make it better. What's your view on where the AI world is going?
Okay.
Make you nervous?
I want to tell you some of
Make you optimistic? How do you feel?
I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you what my concerns are. In terms of things like these things that are like the AI, you know, no offense.
Yeah.
What I'm concerned about is this AI, is that it's going to give prescribed answers to things.
Yes.
And this is what's happening, for example, with the other AI bots, like Grok, and Grok is not as bad as some of the others. Like they're taking in. Google, first of all, is prioritizing all of the information in the whole infosphere.
Yep.
and they banish certain stuff completely.
Of course they do.
So what it does is it searches this stuff and gives you the regime-approved stuff. Okay. So that is a big concern, and so what I'm afraid of is they're like trying to curate reality through AI.
Absolutely.
Now, so
you get into these stupid loops where they feed you what they feed you.
Right, and you can't get anything else.
Yeah.
Now, that's the only concern I have. I think it's a great project, what you're doing.
Oh, well, thanks. We're trying to break through that.
You got to break through that.
We're trying to break through that.
For example, if somebody was to say, what is the libertarian position on immigration?
It's complicated.
It's a complicated issue,
Right.
so I don't think there is a...
I agree with you. That's a really interesting point because, you and I have different positions, and yet... You're right. I can't have the bot say, well, this, and then this, and then this, and then this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's probably going to end up biased toward the way I see libertarianism.
That's what's happening with AI.
And that's what's happening with AI.
First of all, most AI is woke. Okay.
Yes.
Because it's being programmed by woke programmers.
Absolutely.
In the Silicon Valley. And
not you, Evan. Evan's our guy working on our bot. Okay. Evan is not woke and he's trying very hard, and we work together to make sure of that.
So it's like. So that's what I played with AI bots.
Sure. We all have.
Yes, and I wanted to catch it in some contradictions, which is very easy to do.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Especially at this relatively young day and age.
What we need just like in the marketplace, we need diversity. We need all kinds of people involved, and we need real competition between AI.
Yeah.
Different AI.
That's well said.
Yeah.
That's
so
well
we
said.
have that. That will preclude the problem I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I hope so. Do you worry that when government gets good at using AI,
big time.
I don't even know how to end that sentence.
Yeah. Well,
that bad shit's going to happen.
Already they're doing it because see.
Of course.
These organizations like Google, they are government apparatuses. Okay.
In many ways, you're absolutely right.
I call them governmentalities. And what I meant by that is that they actually...
Parastatals, we used to say.
Okay. I thought I coined something. They gave me credit for it.
No, it's a fine term.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we used to call them parastatals. But anyway.
Okay, parastatals. I'll go back to that. I'm not going to try to usurp that term.
Things that are highly influenced by the government, but... are legally sort of...
So the state is already using these technologies.
Yeah.
And they're reinforcing state narratives and state prerogatives and stuff like that.
Yes.
So that's the concern as well. It's like, how do we break the statism, which is kind of the statist ideology being promulgated through these...
Right.
Through these now mass-producing, replicating ideological apparatuses.
Yes, ESG on steroids.
Exactly. So I wrote about this in the Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty. Things like augmented reality. Let's take that.
Yeah.
Augmented reality is like my glasses put information about everything I look at, like Google Glass.
Yep.
And what is keeping that from being propaganda? So, in other words, we already get propaganda through the TV, radio, media.
Of course we do.
So what if they then make all experience mediated through propaganda? Then we're really in trouble.
Absolutely. And we already know that the government has a huge interest in pushing propaganda on us.
Oh, yes.
For 100 reasons. So,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay.
But I trust, and I will push your bot. I'm going to push your butt.
I appreciate
not your buttons, but your butt. But I laud the effort, and I think it's great. I think it's innovative, and it shows initiative. And
well, we're trying. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But anyone who wants to let us know when it gives you weird answers, let me know, because that's the only way we can train it up.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Michael, you've been very gracious with your time, by the way.
No problem. My pleasure.
Where do people get more information about your campaign?
Yeah. It's rectheregime.com, rectheregime.com, or at Rectenwald2024.
Rectenwald2024.com.
.com.
Or rectheregime.com.
Yeah, that's the campaign. you want to know about me, now I've had a long history, and it's Rectenwald, MichaelRectenwald.com.
MichaelRectenwald.com.
Not just Rectenwald.com. That's my brother's business.
Oh, you guys got to
thank you, Art. You're thanks for the money. He's helped me a lot.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so MichaelRectenwald.com to read the whole panoply.
Yes, and I keep a record of everything.
And all of the books are available on Amazon?
Yes, they are.
Mike,
hey, Mike.
Thank you so much.
You're the man. I love you.
You're the man. I love you. This was great. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.